Well, we're here. We have 22 other people. Out, out. Let's just start.
Here, I'm going to get out and try it over again.
Yeah, they were all there, then they weren't there. Oh my goodness.
I don't know how to do that.
I don't know. Did you do that or did I? Who did that? Oh, hilarious. Okay.
Is that better?
We're getting them in. We're getting them in now.
You got me. It's Robin.
Okay, Robin.
Thank you.
I don't know what happened. Um, exactly. Were people here and then gone?
I couldn't get in.
Oh, nobody could get in.
We couldn't get in. Diana.
Okay, so Carrie's not here, which I'm certain she probably told us about. Nobody remembered or knew. So that's what happened. We don't know. I love that real life looks just like this. You don't ever really know what's going on. You just try to hang on. I think we've got everyone in. Let's check. I don't see anyone else so far. All right, great. Wonderful. So I'm going to begin this morning with just a short reminder. I think we're on record. Yeah. So today is Tuesday, the 16th of June already. Here we are fast approaching the official beginning of summer. It feels pretty springy to me today still, but I enjoy that. So, uh, not a problem at all. And in fact, there's no such thing, really, as a spring day versus a summer day versus a winter day. Those are just ideas, right, about what might be considered typical or maybe preferred, uh, would look something like that. And so, what we're going to be talking about today is our capacity to hold ourselves first in this long arc of aging with certain qualities, essential qualities. And I say that word essential a lot, and this certainly applies. Essential qualities. It is not then just qualities associated with aging, it is qualities associated with this reality of an ever changing, precious human life and how we begin to open, include, allow. We might use those kinds of words. And then maybe in the allowing, I might add things like allowing vulnerability, allowing tenderness, we talked about, allowing fear, allowing grief. We named these essential uh, experiences of being alive. Now we're going to talk about how we hold those. And Lewis Richmond, in the book I am using called Aging as a Spiritual Practice, wrote this many years ago and then edited it, and I think is on a current revision, by the way. He says, how you hold experience is as or more relevant than what you're holding, right? And wouldn't we all agree? How we relate, form relationship, allow experience, stay engaged, embodied, and present to the experience would certainly be more valuable than naming even the experience, though there could be a benefit, like spring, summer, winter, and fall, those gentle names, to give us some sense of the constellation of experiences. This is the point of all language, right? We know, is to sort of give someone a felt sense, an experiential sense, an immediate sense using words rather than say, well, then my ears were hot and my jaw got tight, my throat started to close, which would take a fair amount. So we use language then as essential shorthand. Often,
Sorry to interrupt, Diana, but Dennis is trying to get back in. He got kicked out. So
I do
just,
not see Dennis currently.
okay,
Uh,
I'll call him back. Okay.
yeah, he's not here on the board.
Okay.
So I can't click someone in who's not at
He
least
was, something's must be going on with his computer then. Okay.
it is.
Thank
It's
you.
definite,
Okay.
I would say. Let Dennis know that he might want to try the use of his phone.
That's what I told him last time and he got in. Okay. I'll call him back. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Felicia. Thank you for that care. And I'll be watchful uh, for him, and I think we'll hear him. I left the sound on. Okay. How? And then what qualities are we cultivating in this moment to moment experience called our life? And then how do we use, right? It isn't even then just experience, though we love the idea of a good experience, right? Or particularly pleasant experience. My favorite word in the psilocybin journey is meaningful, right? If I hear the word meaningful, what, right? It's all meaningful if you're showing up to it. And so meaningful, we could even add, which means I showed up and it had some resonance, which is also wonderful. So, how? We'll talk about that. But then I tripped on, as is always the case, and I just want to thank authors, the universe. Here's Dennis. I want to thank all those beautiful poets, artists, creatives, people who find a way to express some quality of this humanness in a way that just resonates and just touches. Now, of course, it doesn't mean it will for you, but I love the intentionality in it. That I'm saying something really in this poem you will find, I think, so simply. But that for me very deeply resonated with this idea of how. And so I'm going to see if I can't pull it up for you. I think looking at it as well, in this case, could be valuable. Let's see if we can do it. I'm going to see if anyone could see this. These are my notes, and this is embedded in it. Can anybody see this? It starts with da capo. I don't know what that means. And I was going to look it up, and then I thought, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to let that marinate. It's da capo, D-A-C-A-P-O. Jane Hirschfield, one of my favorite poetess. And here's the poem. And then we'll talk. I'll use the poem, I think, also again. But this is something more than just about the items named. See if you can sense what that might be. And look at this first line. Take the used up heart like a pebble and throw it far out. First line. Take the used up heart like a pebble and throw it far out. Soon there is nothing left. Soon the last ripple exhausts itself in the weeds. Returning home, slice carrots, onions, celery, glaze them in oil before adding the lentils, water, and herbs. Then the roasted chestnuts, a little pepper, the salt. Finish with goat cheese and parsley. Eat. You may do this, I tell you. It is permitted. Begin again the story of your life. You may do this, I tell you. It is permitted. Begin again. Begin again. Doesn't say over. Begin again the story of your life. I'm just going to have you sit with that for a minute and then we'll talk. We're getting some more folks in, so just know that's happening. And I think I'm going to read it again if you don't mind. Does that feel okay? I want you to just stay in the body. There's so much here. Take the used up heart like a pebble and throw it far out. Soon there is nothing left. Soon the last ripple exhausts itself in the weeds. Returning home, slice carrots, onions, celery. Glaze them in oil before adding the lentils, water, and herbs. Then the roasted chestnuts, a little pepper, the salt. Finish with goat cheese and parsley. Eat. You may do this, I tell you. It is permitted. Begin again the story of your life. Just resting with that. Feel where it feels most alive in the body. Thank you, Joyce. De capo means from the beginning. From the beginning. Beautiful. Beautiful. And so, what's our intention here? To really see if we can remember that our life is this long arc, but filled with infinite moments. And infinite moments where we can begin again. We can begin, right? We can return home, look at the language. And we can do this in a very ordinary, simple, meaningful, present way without having to have it be something extraordinary, made extraordinary. The carrots, the celery, the onion, right? Something so everyday simply by what? One's committed attention to it. And then we can even dress it up a little as she does, glazing them, adding parsley, goat cheese, right? And then what? Eat. Fully enjoying the moment that becomes your life. And that it is permitted. Both the joy of it, the presence of it, the taking the time with it. And this very poem for me is an instruction for how to do one's life. And particularly, I think, in aging, where the need to rush really becomes dangerous, I'll say. I just cut my foot um, yesterday, a day before, um, picking oranges and grapefruit on my mother's beautiful trees to bring back to the Sangha. And while rushing to get these two large bags filled with fruit now into the house, I trip over a very sharp metal sprinkler and slice my big toe. Before I hit the tree, thankfully, the tree was there. It felt like arms wide open, holding, because I would have gone straight to the ground. Now, this is the second time in probably a month where I have fallen. This is a little interesting. A little interesting. And can I regard the message? can I regard the message? And can I then even more and more begin to use this opportunity to be more present and slower and then slower? And I believe the answer would be yes. I'm going to read here because I see people coming in. Gina and I are both starting new lives in new areas. That's exactly right. Beginning again. Exciting and unknown. Beginning again very much. Can I use this in approaching loss? And of course, the answer is what? Yes, because there is what? This is permitted, she says, both the joy and the sorrow of it. It is permitted. We get to feel, don't we? Be with the whole experience, not just the parts we like, or mistakenly to turn only towards that which is diminishing, because in fact we're going to find out that is actually never true, and it is always true that things are changing, both advancing, growing, being cultivated, as well as being um, lessened by our definition. Because if we value speed, then, right, if you value speed, then going slower is a loss. Now, if you value presence, it might be a gain. If you value wisdom, it would certainly be a gain. If you value productivity, acquisition, accumulation, and right, ego polishing, it might be a loss. But then, as she says, this is up to you. This is up to you. Isn't it true? I'm going to let people see if there's any more response.
Did we just please die?
Greg is taking over.
Can't hear a word Greg
There
says,
you,
though.
you heard I didn't do anything.
Diana, you're muted. You're on mute.
All together.
I was not present.
There she is.
I was gone. I was gone, but I'm back. Dennis is coming in and out, and unfortunately, I think it's playing a little bit with our system. So I just want to be a little cautious about what we do here. I don't want to share this, but I do want to show it. So let me see if I can get to it. So do we get this idea that the lightning strike, I want to review it for a moment. The lightning strike said what? There are these sentinel moments, as well as a continuation of their impact over a long arc. And that these lightning strikes are real opportunities to wake up, we decided, not to define oneself by them. And I had two people at least report events, which is what we understood the lightning strike to be, this opportunity for waking up to the truth of our lives, with, I would say, over defining oneself by them, rather than use them as the suggestion of a process or an opportunity or a cultivation. It was like, well, now I'm this. And I got a little worried because the lightning strike, if anything's design, is to remove these ideas about labels and removing the idea about limits. Remember, we talked a little about that. Removing the idea about definitions, identifications as aged. That wasn't the point at all. It was to say, in an ongoing, ever changing reality and process that can, in fact, from my point of view, and I believe I'm looking at it uh, in good evidence, be major, if not more, contribution to the benefit of all beings than before, when we were lost in acquisition, accumulation, and self identification. That this is the immense opportunity for all of us, in whatever part of the process we're in, to get bigger, to be more, to be a greater contributor, to be a benefactor, not just a recipient, and to choose it. And then to, on purpose, choose it. I will choose to give this, uh, like, right? Do we get this idea that there are certain realities of change that equal fluctuation, and sometimes the fluctuation means looking like I will maybe not be able to go as fast picking the oranges and the grapefruit if I choose not to be injured. That might be, so there might be some evidence that it may be useful or of benefit to me to slow down. But I don't think it would mean I would have to stop picking them for others. Do you? And I think we can get lost in the message. I think we can go, this means I am no longer valuable, or I can't be valuable in as important or speedy or whatever your definition is. And I think it's dangerous for us. Do we get this idea a little bit? Is there anything anybody wants to say about that before we go on?
Yeah. Let me add a little bit to that because, I noticed that a lot, Diana. Um, it's almost like there's a momentum, I guess, to this idea that, I can do all these things that I used to be able to do and whatever without even thinking about it, without even being aware, without bringing some more attention to it. And the other day I mentioned on Saturday that I fell just before the meditation. And I was trying to do too many things, getting ready for the meditation, and I was walking, trying to fast, and I fell and injured myself. And like you, I was like, "Hey, wait a minute! I better really be a little bit more aware." And I've had this going on for a long time, and I am going to be going to Europe in September, and I've decided I'm going to bring a cane with me. I'm just going to do it because I don't care what I look like or whatever. It's going to help me. It's going to be part of the package. And to realize that I'm changing every day, every moment, and losing something. There's some continuing loss. As much as I exercise, go to the gym, whatever it is.
Yes. So I love this idea of losing something, Greg. You're right on this issue for me. And so I'm going to challenge this a little bit. We are losing something only if we make it most valuable. Otherwise, it's simply changing. We lose something that we value, that we prize, that we identify with, and that we think must in some way define us or that we must be. And so if we choose, I'll say, any doing, pick any doing, folks, cooking, cleaning the house, um, picking the oranges, being up late at night with friends, right? Doesn't matter. the voice qualities and tone, hearing, right? If we value the doing in it, yes, then I think we start to perceive diminishment. But I want to challenge this idea because I don't think slower is in any way less. In fact, if we were to then define whatever it is by our quality of being, rather than doing, accumulating, and accomplishing, we might say we are gaining. Mightn't we? Say we are gaining. And I believe this long arc of aging, in fact, is the movement from the mistaken identification with ourselves as human doings into the movement of ourselves finally, and it takes 60 plus years, no less, to get into this quality of ourselves and others as beings, and then being that. And then if you have a cane or a hearing aid or a, right, it's not relevant because in fact the being, in fact, I hope there is a time where we can use things like canes as symbols of wisdom. Wouldn't that be amazing? Where we can use someone who chooses still to spend time chopping vegetables as skillful, loving, and wise. And that we don't define this by XK per year title, right? Because then we are truly lost, which is why we as a culture cannot tolerate aging. Because we, not the process, and certainly not the Buddha, have defined it as in some way deficient. Not
Diana, and in some ways,
yes.
you start to really start, well, we're experiencing it from the morning we're born, but I have family members and I can remember my own reaction who, when I turned 40 and needed glasses, I have a family member who went years without getting glasses because did not want to confront that, okay, my body's aging and now my eyes need help. So it's really, that's just a little uh, example of how it's starting much younger than we all think.
Very. Maybe from the very beginning. Because we rush to get somewhere, don't we? To get to, and you see now 12-year-olds dressing like right, more sexualized, more, right? And then we have to stay that. We rush to get there, and then we have to figure out how to remain uh, that. And so then what if we could see aging as the teacher, the path, the promotion, the accomplishment, the training ground, the success story, a profound opportunity then for being awake, being in wonder, being in awe, and taking the time to do it. And then we'll talk later about what that impact would be for others, that impact. And then we'll talk about our own grandparents or elders. And then I think the word elder begins to hold a whole different meaning. The elder is the prized one, the valued one, the celebrated one, right? Not the diminished one. And in fact, is carrying all of the tradition, all of the lineage, all of the for who everyone. That's its beauty. It isn't in any way just for themselves, which I find profound myself and beautiful and slower and not as often, and right, and no problem, no problem. So rather than this idea of accumulation, which I talked about, we are going to be moving towards the idea of aging as an elder, as a contributor, as a benefactor. And we get to begin that process, I believe, first and foremost with ourselves. Now, did anybody look at the chapter by Lewis Richmond? It was pretty basic, by the way, so we're not going to be talking about things that don't make sense for you. But he named, anybody remember the four? He put it into four. Now, we could put this into 4,000, couldn't we? Different moments of different constellation of experience that it accrues and grows over years, right? Accrues and grows over years. And the first one was acceptance. Anybody remember that one? Acceptance. That we just allow and accept the truth of aging, but not as a diminishment, but as in fact a celebration and an accruing of something larger than speed, right? All of the things, these, what are those called? Tangibles. Tangibles. Greater than the tangibles, right? I shared this with someone, for sure Libby, but I think maybe Adrian or another too. I've noticed that my oldest son is now starting to follow me around a little bit. So I go downstairs, he goes down to the garden. I come up, he comes up to the garden. He's kind of behind me. I keep looking, boy, there he is again. And I think there are two reasons. And I think they're both beautiful. And I think the first one is I was vulnerable and potentially dangerous on stairs, most recently, of course, with surgeries. And I think he was just there as a guard. And I think he took that role on. He never got asked to do so, but he just did. And I saw it as beautiful and loving. And the second reason was I think he is there to learn. He's standing behind me as I trim the roses. He's asking me why I cut them that way. He also is a contributor in that he's taking the rose branch, but actually he's not just there to be a support to me. He is actually there to get something as well. And I can allow both. And I don't know if we can have the one without the other. I don't know if we can. I think we have to allow the vulnerability as well, to allow others to go, I'm going to be there because there's even something about this that I need to know about. Not just the chopping or the cutting or the preparing, but the way of being with it in the doing, which turns it all into being. And that acceptance, this is an okay process. There is no problem in it except as we define it by diminishment. However, we can allow it, can't we, as well? I don't need to go as fast. I don't actually have the aspiration to go faster than I'm going. And with that acceptance, with that allowing, with seeing the value, the benefit of even less doing, the benefit of less doing, I think we start to open to at what Lewis calls adaptation. We begin to order our lives. Anybody noticing this? In a way that is more consonant, more in line with, more in alignment with these values. Anybody noticing this? With these values, I will do less to be more. My decision to start working less isn't because I'm not capable. It isn't because I don't love my work. It isn't because I don't enjoy taking my family on vacations with the extra money, right? All of that has not changed. And I'm recognizing that there is a greater value that I can now offer than just the commitment to those number of hours. with one person or two people or three. I want to be available in a greater way to a greater number of people by virtue of the way I am being, not working. Being. And if we do not value it, we cannot tolerate it, because you won't have X, whatever that we have just held up as the prize, the title, right? So I think we have to be watchful. So in adaptation, you begin to not only allow, you begin to facilitate, you begin to create this quality of being more and more, more and more. I want to be. This often happens with grandchildren for people, right? Who go, I want to create time and space just to be with them. So to watch them play, or to get involved in some exchange of teaching or instruction, or just enjoying their advances, no longer having to create yours, right? And it's a beautiful process. And in fact, grandparents, both in the psychedelic research, two of the most commonly used psychedelics that come from the earth are the grandmother and the grandfather. That transformative, that impactful, that meaningful. Not the mom and the dad, and not you, the amazing thing. You are the grandmother and the grandfather. Why? Because their purpose is for your benefit. Their purpose is your benefit, not theirs. And thinking about your own grandparents then as an example, if you were so lucky as to have them as I was, that sense of unconditional care, regard, and presence can be often experienced there. Can be. And so adaptation, we are changing our view, is the way I'd like you to think of this. Changing our view, not qualities of being only, but the view from my greatest value is in being with and being for and nurturing that, both in me, my capacities, given my wisdoms, all the things I have accumulated and accrued. And now it's our opportunity really to give away the fruit. We just give it away. And we give it away in all directions, right? It's not just grandchildren. And we become elders, mentors, and wisdom holders. Wisdom holders. And then we are sought for that, not the how fast can you pick an orange. Right? And that leads, he says, naturally to feeling not only for oneself. I'm going to extend his definition of compassion. We do get to feel for ourselves in the changes, right? But I want us to be watchful of the perception of them as limits or losses. They are changes, certainly, as long as there are also understandings that there are things we are growing from that, right? Just like the mycelium web, as it disintegrates, it is also providing infinite growth for other things, right? But that also we have compassion for all those others running around like chickens with their heads cut off. Because we know. And even as a wise elder, recognizing that there is some certain suffering that comes with it. The busyness, the too much, the too big, long to-do list, the gotta have it be, gotta have it look, that we can, as wise elders, begin, and mentors, begin to feel for others with compassion for all of the consequence of that. What do we know? You are some distance from your own life in it. You are some distance from your life, not fully. Even when you love what you do, in the accumulation, in the drive, in the gotta have, gotta be. And the willingness then, in adaptation, from my point of view, to begin again. Just like she says, return home, begin again. What an adapt! Look at that. Just that simply, with care, with compassion, with kindness. And it says, from those three, then, we are ultimately transformed. And then transcendence, meaning no longer in the grasping, no longer in the gotta have, no longer in the accumulation, but can, as a wise elder, communicate presence, a quality of being, a pace of being that is needed, not only for one's own joy benefit, but for that of all those who are younger. Transcendence, no longer just for me, but for all beings. I have decided, going forward, rather than this continuing aging, illness, death, loss language, that I'm going to start to refer to those realities as the givens. The givens. These are just things that are a part of life. But I think when we often, and I'm noticing this for our youngers, as we name those things, because they are some distance from the ability to even hold them, it creates a certain kind of dissonance. And it doesn't mean we don't use them, but the givens, the realities of this life as it is, and those being included, as well as, of course, including birth and change. I think it will evoke maybe a little less fear. Does this make sense so far? Do we feel like there is value in both understanding that essential growth phase, from acceptance to adaptation to cultivating new view with compassion, kindness, and then the transcendence, the no longer looking at oneself in any way as aging, or because the self is no longer the point, but really then as a contributor. And that with that contributor role, mentor role, grandmother, grandfather role, comes the beauty of being. The beauty.
Hey, Di,
Yes.
it's Robin. I've noticed something since we've started all of this that's feels really good for me is a lot of people, I don't know why, at my age, 66, want to say, "Oh, I'm 66," and they're saying it in a way that's not positive. And I find myself saying, "I'm 66." Isn't that great? Because we've been, I don't know, just this has really opened up my heart to aging and
Yes.
slowing down and being more present. And
Yes. But you have to value that,
yeah, I love it.
right?
It's
Otherwise, 66 is a number,
and
and
it's
it's
like,
a number that only signals closer to the end. And if you're a measurer, because you are an accumulator, an accomplisher, right, a definer by measure, you're going to come up with short numbers. And then you're going to go, that's not good. Because now, and I've heard this a lot recently with people who are crossing over 65, in particular, I am old. There's that lightning strike. I am now old. Before, I was Libby says, I say it at 54. I am old. Well, what's the acknowledgement? Changes are being observed. I am aware of things I can do and not do in a growing and lessening way. And they are both true. What are we valuing? Well, we have to tell the truth. Our culture values productivity and consumption. The Buddha called that grasping, craving, clinging, and the suffering that comes with it. Right? He said, be careful. There's not enough nutriment in it. And we all went, yeah.
And I would say, with somebody that is not 65 yet, uh, the way that this is mapped out with the acceptance, adaptation, adaption, compassion, and transcendence. I mean, you can really frame that in any part of life, right? You can frame that in everything. So it's like, and it's a beautiful reminder to begin again and not necessarily grasp and hold on to
Whatever.
what you gotta do, right? It can be that acceptance of that it's going to change, that I mean, every kind of year that you go through life, you have to look at all of this, even months, right? So I think it's really interesting in that way. And that you had said the distance from life with the busyness, which is my favorite thing. I love busy. And the grasping and all of that, that it's a beautiful reminder that that removes you from this present moment. It removes you from living.
Yes.
So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate this, Courtney, because you can be 50 or 54, and the sooner we wake up to these habits, the better for us all, isn't it? We all win from there. This isn't big revelation moments, says Jane Hirschfield. She says it's simply returning home, slicing carrots, celery, and onions.
Can I share?
You're reverbing a little bit, Dennis. Is there?
Yeah, let me try to turn something off here because I got my phone and that's what's happening here. So I don't know. Like
You turn one of those off, I think would help.
I turned that off. Is that better?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So showing up. Here I am, 80, and showing up on the tennis court. And sometimes I'm just kind of amazed being there. I mean, I'm being even called this morning. And so a lot of times I have to dig deep because if you're with little people or big people or whoever you're with, it's like, wow, there's this instant magic or synergy, you might call, that's always kind of there. And you realize it and you go, whoa, what an opportunity it is. What an opportunity we have. I mean, just seeing everybody's face here this morning and realize, wow, we're in this together. And so it does my heart good to see everybody. And the essential thing, if you're called upon, show up. Oh, I'm still showing up, and it's nice to see everybody this morning showing up.
Yes. And showing up doesn't look like any one thing, does it? It might be being on the tennis court, and it might be just looking at the garden, right? It might be calling a friend who you haven't had contact with in a while. It might be babysitting a grandchild. There's no one way for that. That's why we don't define any of this by the doing. The doing isn't the point, in fact. In fact, Dennis, you might get out on that tennis court and play run around with the kids and not ever pick up a tennis racket. And it may be as valuable. And there may be the day where, in fact, that's all you can do. Right?
As I
There
don't
will be a
fall,
day.
as long as
Yeah.
I don't fall over, everything's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And there will be a day that you will fall over. And that may be an okay day also. Why? Because the truth of that will be that is not, my value is no longer going to be tied to standing up. Well, how amazing is that? My value is not going to be tied to hitting a ball with anything or be defined by a ball at all. My value is going to be not cooking anything, but receiving at some point, as my father was able to do, who was an amazing cook. and ultimately just said, let's make blank. And what he meant was, make this for me. Make this for me. There was no let's, us, anything. It was, make this for me. And by the way, when I made it, he didn't eat it. He didn't eat it. He just literally enjoyed the process of watching the cooking. And I didn't understand at the time. He enjoyed watching me cook because he knew that that transmission had occurred. I didn't know that. I thought he was wanting the food. It wasn't anything about the food. It was, this lives on. This lives on. There it is. The being this has now been transmitted and is going to live. And how beautiful is that? And there is no food and there is no racket better, is there, than that transmission. And this is what we are capable of and diminish over and over and over. I want to continue to talk about aging, but I want us to get rid of this idea that it is only in the limit, but it is also in the transition. There will be things we do not do because we cannot do them, and also because I'm not sure that was the most important or valuable thing. All that busy and all that doing. I'm not sure it's really the point, and neither are you. Right? And then there are no spiritual fireworks. There's no miracle happening. There's no ta-da moment. We get closer to the truth of who we are and our impact in the world just by our being, and we return home. That's the returning home.
That really, I think, is going to be, hard for me was this idea of the receiving, like that still being a benefit for me. I know that's going to be, I think, the hardest part. Like I still call myself an old lady, and I feel proud about that. I love being able to, like, this is wisdom. Like, I have the gray hair, and I've lived through this, and I never thought I was going to get to this age in the first place. And so I'm at a different stage right now than most other people, because I'm not like afraid about or have this idea that you have to look a certain way about old, but this idea of, gosh, not being the one who gives. That's going to be the hardest part for me. Like, there will come a time where I'm going to have to receive. That's really difficult to see that as also part of the benefit.
Yes.
That's really hard.
Yes. Did everybody hear Libby? Yeah. And so there we are again in accumulation, going, as long as I can give, it's good. Even as an elder, but the receiving. But what about the gift of that? What about the gift of letting someone see that we are all in the receiving also, with gratitude and peace? I'm not going to be able one day to lift my own cup. Someone's going to lift it for me. Can I receive the gift knowing that I am the gift? That very allowing is also what? Allowing that other's humanness, their willingness to be vulnerable, their preparation for there will also be a day where I don't get up. Right? It's true. And aren't we? Isn't that the wise benefactor saying it's okay? I am not defined by the doing of giving either. Are we? Because no gift, no giver, receiver. Right. Remember, all in exchange every single moment, including the one who's getting the help, including the one receiving the help. We had, we're going to get ready to sit because I don't want more time to go. We had someone during our journey on Saturday. I won't anyone else can speak to this if they choose, who went into a vasovagal collapse, and they fell over and then they fell over again. And you could see their struggle, couldn't you, for those who were there? Like, no, no, I don't want all this attention. I want to just be able to. And the more that we could just all relax, anybody remember this who was there? The more relaxed we became, the more like, less, got to do something. Just, this is fine. We're just going to be here. We're all going to take it a little easy. We're going to put your head back, get your feet up, do all the right things, and be here with you, right? Be here with you. And the beauty for all of us in all the parts. One, the offering, the just being, and allowing the being for the other. You get to be exactly as you are. The partner being anxious, you get to be anxious as a partner, right? Especially when you see something, right? The whole thing was just truly lovely and a real gift all the way around. Everyone gifted by this moment without, right, genius and new, we sort of, well, we do this, we'll do this too. Lovely. Um, and everyone as a contributor, everyone as a contributor, including the person who had the blood pressure shift. What shall I make? I asked the question, with the ingredients of my life, says Jane Hirschfield, doesn't she? What shall I
Can
make?
I wanted to say that I've really noticed in our society how um, much this is hurting people who are aging in their self-concept. And I had an 82-year-old woman in another group I was in this last week say how, and she's very sharp, very wise woman, very learned, and she feels like a lot of people just look through her because of her age, her frailties physically. And I feel that too. I feel marginalized as I'm, just looking like I'm aging. And it always surprises me now because I don't really equate all that with quality in a person. It really helps me to understand how just being is not supported in our society at any age. And I think you have to have awareness of that in order to stay your course and be an example for change in our society.
Yes.
It's got to start somewhere. If we can all support each other in continuing to face these realities without falling back into feeling less than,
Right.
we are doing something important in our society. Just that.
That's right.
That's how you shift trends and the
That's
way
right.
people see other people.
That's right. That's a part of the transcendence, I think, Renee. That's a part of recognizing the defining one by roles, possessions, appearance, accomplishments, whatever we're doing. And if we don't change it, it cannot be changed. And so, how do we do that? We remember that these realities and live them uh, out loud, really, which I don't feel diminished, I have to tell you, because I will not allow that to occur. I will not allow that. And I'm a big mouth enough to step into the situation to go, oh, no, no. In fact, right, not we're not going to do this. And that's a part of being an elder, is there is a certain courage that also must be in it. There is a fearlessness that must happen. There is a showing up, Dennis said, didn't he? that not only for what is easy and comfortable, but for what is difficult, what is also difficult. And it is true, but not with ill will, but with my desire for you to see clearly so that you too can be happy. So, right? That's the reason we do it. And I think we all have to get active in it rather than just that's what society imposes on us. Well, I don't think so. I think we're going to have to raise something up to resist the um, demotion and the invisible. The people who have meant something to you, who were elders, were not invisible, were they? You saw their benefit or their value or their meaning or their wisdom, whatever, the love that they had, the unconditionality that I think that comes with age that is also so striking for me. And the letting go of identity. Like I don't have to be in anything. I definitely don't have to be as fast, and I don't have to be as Libby said, I don't have to look a certain way. What a relief. I don't have to, right? This is that these things are not the important things. And then, as Jane Hirschfield again says, what remains? What remains when you let go of all of that? Well, it's actually quite stunning and maybe the most beautiful. What remains? Okay, we get this idea, I see. And ultimately, we're going to talk about elderhood next week as well, but that how then do we live that, this benefit to all beings? But we first must begin to change our own perspective, right, about what aging means and what it is and what it does. And not with the idea of accomplishing more, but with the idea of moving into being with, I don't know, I guess somebody would use a word like grace or allowance or, right, something like that. Okay, I'm going to go see if we can't. So I'm just calling this the capacities of the aging heart. The capacities of the aging heart. Okay, so we're going to get ready to sit. We are coming on to, as we're getting ready, day 75, I think, is maybe tomorrow of the compassion. We're going to focus on that compassion practice on Saturday. And because without compassion, we cannot affect this beautiful transformation and transcendence. Without compassion and gratitude, gratitude is a key piece. We cannot. Libby said it. She said, I am fortunate to be this age. I didn't think I would even get here. Right? That's the gratitude. And so given the gift of this precious human life right now at age 66 or 50 or 71 and a half or 80 or 85, going to be 80, right? What is the beauty of this opportunity, this moment? And so we're going to allow ourselves to settle into the body and establishing a dignified posture. Feeling the support of the space all around us, holding us, the earth beneath us, the skies above. Embraced, supported by it all. And then allowing the eyes to settle in whatever way feels best for you. Something comfortable. And taking a few deep or slow and natural breaths. There is no one right way to breathe. What is the body asking of you? There is nothing else to do. There is now only simply this quality of being. And amazingly, it breathes itself. There is nothing that you have to do but to be fully open, present, awake. We let the mind begin to settle a little bit in the wave of the breath so we can get out of the busyness, the doingness of the mind. We allow ourselves to be exactly as we are. However that is right now. Remember the ordinariness. Returning home, we slice carrots, onions, and celery. We simply be this life. And then we rest here, awake to the miracle. Ajahn Chah said, if you let go a little, you get a little peace. If you let go a lot, you get a lot of peace. And this is the wisdom of the elders. This awareness has accompanied you throughout the whole of your life and will continue. It is a life companion that you can choose to share by the quality of your own heart mind, the quality of your own being. And so let's be grateful for this very capacity to be awake. And then we remember that that very quality of presence is ageless. It is timeless. It is closer to who you really are than any quality in the body. And its only capacity is to be fully present. And then present with certain qualities. This is it. And as the body begins to change, we notice that those qualities amazingly can shine forth even in a greater way, no longer masked by appearance, because of course not limited in any way by appearance or by production or by accomplishment. Awareness is only greater, as is love, compassion, patience. We tend to define, I think, our identities by a couple of things. Beyond accomplishments, maybe something like chapters, I think, in someone's life, early childhood and then teen years and then young adulthood and right, then marriage and children or career or specific relationships. What if we defined ourselves instead not by that accumulation, but by the accumulation of what we grew, qualities that we developed, hearts that became larger, wisdoms that became not only thoughts, but fully embodied realities. Then change would not be so scary. We can sense the flow of both the impermanence of all of these period linear time appearances, but also the growing of something from each one, even the difficult ones, sometimes particularly because of the difficult ones. So you can take a moment and then maybe reflect on a physical moment, an age, a stage, something like a surgery, for example, in my case. And there is the physical realities, at least as we can see them, associated with that, and right, both pain and then relief and joy at the gratitude at the opportunities extended, but really well beyond that, what have I grown on the inside? Beyond the hips, beyond walking, what have I grown on the inside? What are the real ingredients? And how am I going to use them? And I've noticed a couple things, and I've talked about them a little. This is just an example. But a certain patience, an allowing of vulnerabilities, opening to receiving, acknowledging others' difficulties with much greater compassion and care. The ingredients are well beyond, says Jane Hirschfield, the carrots, the celery, and the onions. It is a quality of being alive in this life with the whole of it. So reflecting for a moment on one of these changes and what was grown from them. Maybe the ability to grieve, or to cry, or to think less about how one looks. What were the benefits of that very change? And see if you don't notice that not only does that quality continue, but it grows. It is also not static or fixed in any way. It continues to develop. And the more we can invite and set intention for that, the more it can in fact occur. Recognizing that vulnerabilities are a part of this human life, I can not only allow them, I can actually invite them. I can recognize that unless I am willing to be vulnerable, I can never cultivate a tender heart. Unless I am willing to turn towards my own suffering, my own fears, confusion, doubt, grief, anger, whatever's here, I cannot cultivate compassion. And the elder knows I will live this so as to be of benefit not only to my own inner qualities, growing strengths, resilience, capacities to hold not only oneself but others, which is undying. And which moves beyond any limited idea about oneself. The hair color, the skin. Can allow everything really to be included because none of it is diminishing except as we define it. And notice where maybe you're still hanging on, a place where you are not yet able to be with, to open into. We are not yet at acceptance. And so consequently, we cannot yet cultivate qualities of adapting, allowing. We don't have to change anything here. We're not trying to be different. We're just seeing if we can make small space available for the fear, the sadness. That may be present here. And then we invite it in. Can this too belong? This sadness, this grief, confusion, maybe a certain resignation. Notice a lot of disapproval in others as they recognize changes. See if we can't begin a quality, at least a beginning spirit of acceptance. This too belongs and is a part of the process. And then we let this moment be exactly as it is, unconditionally friendly, accepting, with however we are. This is growing into that eldership at whatever age you are. Growing into being the benefactor, the unconditionally present and available source. We are in this closest to God, whatever that is for you. And then we smile as we recognize that there was no need to be faster or prettier or smarter at all. And then we begin a level of adapting. We begin to participate with new qualities, less judgmental, less critical, less condemning. More open, more receptive, more connected to the truth, the whole truth. And then we feel for ourselves in all those moments where we were some distance from the truth, judging ourselves by measurements and colors and how firm something was or how smart we appeared. And we smile. And we recognize the difficulties we invite, the suffering that we perpetuate. We simply return home. To who we really are. And we begin again just like this. It is permitted. We cannot be diminished by others unless we have first diminished ourselves. And feeling for ourselves, having done that for so long, we can simply begin again just now. opening our hearts to ourselves. And then feeling for all those others too, who know this suffering, this diminishment, this judgment. This demandingness that we be and do exactly as we always have. It's not required. It would be stuck and static and deprive us of knowing who we really are, the part that is indelible, and the part that can continue to grow. Love, hold, care. And may this practice then be of benefit. First to you, and as to you, so then to all beings. May we allow ourselves to age with wisdom. May we age with courage, commitment. May we age with compassion, friendliness towards ourselves and others. And may we continue to cultivate the freedom, the unconditional regard that comes from accepting all that is, the parts we like and the parts we don't like. May we become elders who offer steadiness, unconditional regard, understanding, kindness to ourselves and to the world. And may whatever merits and goodness have been generated here today, may it be offered to the welfare and the benefit of all beings. So be it. Thank you all for being here with me and the Sangha this morning. We have a reminder that this Thursday is Philabelli, and I think, Lynn, we might still be looking for something.
We are still looking for a couple of volunteers to come 15 minutes early at 5:45 to help with table setup.
Thank you.
If anyone's able to do that, we appreciate it.
Could you put well, I think everybody's got your phone number probably.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
We're good. In case.
There was also an email sent out. I saw that yesterday about needing volunteers.
Yes,
So,
that's correct. So, I haven't looked for responses to that yet, so we may already have a solution in hand.
Okay. Good to know. Look forward to seeing you all there. And seeing if we can begin to embrace this idea of aging and all of its goodness and benefits. We've spent some real time looking at the realities of the limitations, and it has been necessary. But it is not all there is. And so I want us to open the door fully wide to see, yes, it is true. You may not be as fast, and you may be kinder. And take the one for the other, right? Take it. And then share it, because good news all the way around. I want to thank you all for joining me. I think we had a really lovely group today. I don't remember, I didn't see, but I think at one point we had 20 plus people here. This is very, very important for us all, isn't it? So important. And we're going to continue to practice. So, oh
I
yes, Tanya.
now I just wanted. I know I'm not on there, but I just wanted to say thank everybody. I don't know if there's like some kind of like more vulnerability or I don't know what. That I've lost a few friends recently, and I've always worked in hospice, and I think I'm pretty kind. I mean, maybe that's like a little bit obscene to say, but no, I just noticed like how much I take advantage of this life journey. You just kind of don't think about it, especially as you're a younger person and you start to age. And now, as I'm aging, and certain things that I don't do or haven't, or just, it's just changing how I do things. Um, and being so much more aware of it and so much more like grateful.
Mm-hmm.
I've really noticed that and kind of like think, what an obnoxious being I've been, taking advantage of those things and capabilities that I had or have
No,
or able to do.
yeah, we forgot.
Um,
We forgot
yeah,
things.
you kind of just like, you fell asleep at the wheel for a minute and went, well, wait, huh?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I guess
But
you
I
don't know
just,
their gifts, do you? Till you lose them.
yeah,
You
I
just
mean, I've really been recognizing that and talking with a few friends about or journaling about how, wow, this is where we are. This is where we're at. Oh my gosh, the things I take for granted and how exceptionally grateful I am in the abilities that I can do certain things or I can help others with certain things and just learning more from other people, which I always kind of feel I do anyway. But I don't know, it's just in a different space now.
yeah.
And I'm super grateful and I couldn't be more aware of things if I weren't in this practice with my shanga. And I just wanted to say how greatly appreciative I am for the experience and all the opportunities we get to share together. So thank you all so very much. And Diana, thank you for having this space and your guidance and wisdom that you bring to the table for us all. So
Well,
thank you.
I think you said what we all feel, Tanya. Thank you so much. I think we're all very, very blessed, fortunate to have each other, and all of you who choose every week to take time out of a day, a busy day, to show up like this. And we're going to keep doing that because we're remembering more and more what's most important. And this is it. this is it, in fact. You are completely correct. I know that we're going to take this very wisdom, this very love, this very unconditional regard out with us for the rest of the day. So thank you all so much for that. Blessings to you all. Be well, everyone.